Well, I was always sort of a dreamer kid. I have a report card where the teacher said, he's always daydreaming, and that's going to cause him trouble. And that's probably true. But the flip side of that is, when you're a creative person and you have an imagination, unless somebody else tells you that you can't do these things, then everything is possible. Hi, my name is Stephen Brown, and I'm the creator of Glitterville Studios, where every day's a holiday. I always loved holidays. My Nana would always craft with me, and we would start crafting for Christmas like in June. And we would craft and craft and craft, and you're heading towards the holidays. And all the other kids were getting really excited that Christmas Day was coming. But the closer Christmas came, the sadder I got. Because the minute people unwrap their gifts on Christmas Day, it's pretty much over. And I remember one Christmas, my Nana saying to me, well, we have to get up tomorrow and we have to make something else because we have to make every day a holiday. So one of the first things I'm going to show you, this is a line called Beezy. And she's just a wacky bumblebee who's out doing her thing with a honey pot and flowers. This was a fun project for me because it was all illustration that actually gets turned into dinnerware. Lots of times I'll just draw things and then the person who's looking at the drawing is me. And I actually make everything from my drawing. But in this situation, that drawing that I was making and painting actually got turned into dinnerware like this. So it was a really fun project. Glitterville is really based on living in my own mind and creating a place that I feel happy and comfortable and magical. People always ask, is this like a fashion collection? Is this where you sit down with a big marker and you start deciding, this is what this is going to be, and this is this collection, and this is the Sugar Plum collection, and this is the Beezy collection, and I'm sure a lot of people work that way, but for me, it just doesn't. I may see a bumblebee on my way to lunch and say, oh, bumblebee, and come back and start drawing a bumblebee, and that's how that starts. So instead of thinking of it as a collection that's been well thought out, it's usually just, oh, that sounds fun. I've always believed that craft supplies should be really simple. What you turn them into can be extravagant, but I don't ever want to have to depend on a particular product or something that I can't obtain. And because we travel all over the world, for years I have dragged suitcases full of paints and glitter and clay and paper for paper mâché. It wasn't until a couple of years ago someone said, well, you should start trying to work digitally. And I was like, no. I'm not doing that. I don't feel the paper, I don't feel the paint, I don't, see all of that. And I started dabbling in it, and then I loved it all of a sudden. And it was one of those things that it's like, oh my gosh, this is gonna free me from carrying every product I have all over the world. So today, it's very easy for me, just like a set of dinner plates, to sit down, draw it, paint it, it's reproduced, and in the showroom in no time. Now, some of my most favorite characters I ever created are Marie Antoinette and Napoleon Bonaparte, which is just a wacky skeleton couple that people have in their homes at Halloween all over the world. After I graduated high school, I went to study costume design for television and film. I immediately moved to New York, started working lots of crazy jobs and doing things that people said, oh, you probably can't do that, like designing windows on Fifth Avenue. That's not an easy thing to get into. But by chance, I did get into it and started doing windows, and that led to another thing. And at the same time, I was doing movies, and that led to other things. My advice is always do everything. I never limited myself into just a particular path. When I was little, I had a tiny little mug that looked similar to this, that was like a little Santa face, and I loved it. I think that somewhere in my mind, I've thought about it all these years, and I came up with Papa Noel. And if you look, he has a funny little mustache, a little curl of hair, and of course, a cute little mouth at the bottom. You never know what the item that's gonna have huge popularity may be. And in this case, it's a solid color ball. May not be the most interesting thing in the room, but this set of Sugar Plum Pixie is one of the most popular things in the collection. We have lines of holiday glass, everyday glass, everything now in the Sugar Plum Pixie colors. Sometimes an item starts as an ornament, small, like Caloysius the camel, and then he's so popular that then we make him big in a display version. Glitterville itself is sort of modeled after a small little, one of the little stores in Paris. So I actually like it not too big. And having showrooms that I use as studios is a great way to do it because you get to play in all of them. Now, it wouldn't be a Glitterville tour if I didn't at least acknowledge my love of cake and frosting and all things yummy, like cakey, ice creamy, and the mother of all things confection, Marie Sweet, who even has cotton candy hair. Making product is an interesting thing because, if you're just making things for yourself, you can make them anytime. There's a casualness to that. But when you have a line like Glitterville, there is a schedule that must be kept. Stores all around the world shop for their products in January. You have to have next Christmas ready by this Christmas. And to do that, you have to start a year in advance, which I'm terrible at. I never know what will I be thinking right before that. So I procrastinate some and do it right before the show. And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. It's one of those things that the buyers are coming and it must be ready. When Glitterville started, there was only about 6 colors. It was lime green, hot pink, sky blue, orange. It was a very basic set of colors. And the showrooms and the studio, everything looked like that. And it was really beautiful. It almost looked like a cartoon. And when people would come in, they would say, "Oh my gosh, this is so lovely, but I could never have it in my home or my store." It was so out there. It was such a down the rabbit hole magical place that they couldn't imagine having it. There was a man who, and I have no idea who he was, he came to me at one of the shows and he said, "Can I speak to you for a minute?" And I said, "Sure." And he said, "You are extremely talented. Your stuff is beautiful." He said, "But you need to rethink the way you show things and the color palette that you have because it's so austere that people love it, but they don't know what to do with it." I said, "Okay, thank you." And after that show, we looked at the entire situation and changed the colors to a completely different palette. And at the very next show, it was like the world just opened up and people said, "Oh my gosh, where have you been?" And it's like, well, right here. Glitterville has given me a path that I could do everything. When I first went to school, I wanted to be an actor. That was sort of waylaid because I got a scholarship in costume design. So they're like, "Oh, you can't do acting because now you have this." So I moved to costume design and I kept dabbling back and forth in New York. And I also wanted to work on TV, so I worked on that some. And then I thought, oh, well, magazines would be fun. And so I started working on that, and then you have windows. I had no real path. I just knew that I really loved doing all of these things. And for me, Glitterville has given me a platform to do everything I want. It doesn't matter what it is, I can do it all under the guise of this whimsical place called Glitterville. If you like this video, then give us a thumbs up and subscribe for more maker tours just like this one.